Heated Rivalry premiered on November 28, 2025.
How about you tell me everything that's on your mind, but in Russian?
Come here.
No, you come here.
No, you come here.
No, you come here.
And unless you've been completely offline for the past month, you've seen it trending somewhere, heard someone raving about it, or caught Pedro Pascal promoting it on his Instagram stories.
You still won't? Still won't.
2 weeks after that premiere, the show secured a Season 2 renewal. Crave reported a viewership spike of nearly 400% during the first week alone. HBO Max saw it become the top debut for any acquired non-animated title since the platform launched back in 2020.
Why the fuck did you think it was okay to sex me before the game? What the fuck?
You were hard, weren't you? You will murder me.
Maybe.
And here's what makes that even more wild. HBO Max only picked up the series 9 days before it premiered, because social media pressure essentially forced their hand. What exactly is it about this show that's captured audiences, critics, and the entire internet?
Wow. Do you think this will be enough? Fuck off.
Let's get into it. Understanding why this adaptation works requires understanding where it came from.
I've been dreaming about it my whole life.
Rachel Reed published the novel on March 25, 2019 through Carina Press as the second book in her 6-book Game Changer series, which began in 2018. The premise sounds simple enough. Two rival hockey superstars named Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov have competed against each other since they were drafted first and second overall, and on the ice they're enemies.
You missed me, didn't you?
I fucking didn't. And I still beat your ass.
Barely.
But off the ice, they've been carrying on a secret sexual relationship for years.
You still won't? Still won't.
What set the book apart wasn't just the enemies to lovers trope or the sports setting. Reed wrote it from what she described as a place of being angry at hockey culture and how clearly homophobic it was. She built a fictional critique of hockey's hyper-masculine environment, depicting what life actually looks like for a closeted athlete in that world.
Your family must be happy they're in Russia.
Yes.
Those books found a devoted audience. Before the show existed, Reed had moved 650,000 copies of the Game Changer series. Goodreads shows over 111,000 ratings with an average of 4.33, and unlike so many queer narratives that end in tragedy, Reed gives readers satisfying romantic resolutions. Her fan base wasn't just entertained, they became fiercely protective of these characters. And that's when BookTok entered the picture. Hockey romance novels exploded during the COVID-19 lockdowns, and Reed's books rode that wave hard. TikTok now shows over 4.6 million posts under the Heated Rivalry hashtag. When news of the TV adaptation broke, that fan base organized, campaigned for global distribution, and became directly responsible for HBO Max acquiring the series.
You like tuna melt?
You wanna make me a tuna melt?
I was gonna make one for me, I can make two.
Here's where things could have gone completely sideways. Book-to-screen adaptations are notoriously tricky, especially when devoted fan bases are watching every creative decision. Studios tend to sand down the edges, push for something more palatable, delay the romantic payoff. One executive actually suggested holding off on the sexual relationship between Shane and Ilya until Season 2. The showrunner refused. That showrunner is Jacob Tierney, known for his work on Letterkenny and Shoresy. He took on creator, showrunner, writer, and director duties across all 6 episodes, which gave him an unusual level of creative control and allowed for a consistent vision throughout.
It's you. It's this.
And people say you're not funny.
They do?
Yeah. They say you're boring too.
And it felt like we were something.
We can't be something, Hollander.
Tierney, who is openly gay, treated the source material with complete seriousness, and Rachel Reed joined as consulting producer, later calling the result a perfect adaptation. Tierney put his approach this way: women are allowed to write about men. They're allowed to write about gay men. The question should be, how are they writing about us? Is it with empathy? Bell Media financed the production entirely through their Accent IQ Entertainment division, which meant Tierney could reject studio notes that pushed to, in his words, fundamentally change the story, or fundamentally change the tone. The result is a show that keeps the explicit sexual content that made the book famous. This isn't subtext, and it isn't lingering glances followed by a fade to black. The AV Club wrote that it raises the bar for what we should expect, or rather demand, to see more of from a changing television industry.
How about you tell me everything that's on your mind, but in Russian?
RogerEbert.com called it the sexiest and most significant queer show of the year, and noted that it stands out in a wasteland of recent queer television that plays it too safe. People have called it the horniest show on television, and the creators wear that description proudly. Casting is everything when you're adapting a beloved book with a passionate fan base, because getting it wrong means no amount of faithful adaptation will save you. Heated Rivalry went with two relative unknowns in the lead roles. Hudson Williams took on Shane Hollander, the controlled, half-Japanese captain of the Montreal Metros, while Connor Story stepped into Ilya Rozanov, the cocky, bisexual Russian star of the Boston Raiders. Both Williams and Story were working as restaurant waiters before landing these parts. Story, a Texan, learned Russian specifically for the role, and whatever gamble the producers took on these two paid off beyond anyone's predictions.
Я здесь все ненавижу. И все меня ненавидят.
Critics have lined up to praise their on-screen connection. The Washington Post observed that their faces capture a complex cocktail of feelings with chemistry that is bonkers. RogerEbert.com went as far as comparing the pairing to Bogart and Bacall. Episode 5 pushed their performances to a perfect 10 out of 10 on IMDb. That rating ties Breaking Bad's legendary Ozymandias as one of only 2 episodes in television history to hit that mark. The supporting cast holds its own as well. Francois Arnault plays Scott Hunter, Sophie Nélisse takes on Rose Landry, Christina Chang and Dylan Walsh appear as Shane's parents, and Robbie G.K. portrays Kip Grady. The Scott and Kip storyline, adapted from Reed's first Game Changers book, earned particular devotion from fans, and their Stanley Cup kiss in Episode 5 became a viral moment. Williams and Story have signed contracts for 3 seasons, which tells you exactly where Bell Media sees this franchise heading. Adaptation choices are where book fans get nervous, so let's walk through what changed and what stayed. Some changes were practical, like the NHL becoming the fictional MLH, with the Montreal Voyageurs renamed the Metros and the Boston Bears becoming the Raiders for obvious legal reasons. Other changes were structural. The first sexual encounter between Shane and Ilya shifted from Episode 1 to Episode 2, with a snowstorm scene added to build tension. Episode 3 dedicates 45 minutes to condensing the Scott and Kip story from the first Game Changers book, a choice that left some fans questioning the pacing across a 6-episode season. The most significant change was actually an expansion. Shane Hollander is half Japanese in the book, but as Tierney pointed out, his name is Shane Hollander. You can whitewash him in your brain really easily when reading. The TV version makes that impossible to do. Shane's biracial identity moves to the center of his character, with microaggressions depicted on screen. Christina Cheng's portrayal of his mother Yuna takes on a major expanded role in the series. Reed's involvement as consulting producer kept the tone faithful to her vision. She described Tierney's approach by saying, "Jacob took it very seriously. Like, more seriously than romance ever gets taken. I hope it's going to change the way romance gets filmed." The numbers on critical and commercial reception are genuinely striking. Rotten Tomatoes shows a 96% score, with the consensus praising Tierney's all-consuming, steamy, dreamy love fest of true queer intent. The audience score landed at 94% from over 500 ratings. IMDb displays a 9.1 out of 10 based on more than 25,000 votes. The show hit number 4 on the Just Watch TV streaming chart during the week of December 7th. According to Rachel Reed herself, the dedicated subreddit has grown to nearly 200,000 members. Across Reddit's broader TV discussions, Heated Rivalry ranks as the 3rd most discussed show, trailing only Young Royals and Stranger Things. Celebrity endorsements have amplified the buzz. Pedro Pascal promoted it on Instagram, and Ayo Edebiri, Hannah Einbinder, and country singer Orville Peck have all voiced their support publicly. What really shows the real-world impact is this. Rachel Reed hit the New York Times bestseller list for the first time following the premiere. Print copies sold out nationwide, and the Kindle editions of Heated Rivalry and The Long Game claimed the number 1 and number 4 bestseller spots respectively. The adaptation didn't just succeed on its own terms, it sent audiences straight back to the source material. No phenomenon this size escapes controversy, and Heated Rivalry has encountered its share. The loudest criticism came from Jordan Firstman, star of HBO's I Love LA. In a Vulture interview, he stated that the show is just not gay. It's not how gay people have sex. He took issue with the lead actors not publicly disclosing their sexuality, adding a gay guy would say it. Francois Arnault fired back on Instagram with a pointed response. Is there only one way to have authentic gay sex on TV? Should the sex that closeted hockey players have look like the sex that sceney LA gay guys have? Hudson Williams chose a different approach entirely, promoting First Man's show in response. First Man eventually apologized, describing himself as a fega who can't shut the fuck up. A separate debate has swirled around whether the show, adapted from a book written by a woman primarily for female readers, represents an authentic gay experience, or whether it amounts to what some critics called desexing gay men to make them palatable, like pets for young women. That critique gets complicated by the fact that Jacob Tierney is openly gay. His response cut right to the heart of the issue. The question isn't whether women are allowed to write about gay men, but whether they're writing about gay men with empathy. The response from queer audiences suggests many believe the answer is yes, from sold-out viewing parties at gay sports bars to viral celebrations to the community that's coalesced around this show. Looking at the bigger picture, several factors explain why this particular show at this particular moment became a cultural phenomenon. LGBTQ+ sports representation remains genuinely rare, and the show depicts closeted professional athletes navigating a hyper-masculine culture in a way that feels authentic rather than scrubbed clean. The NHL officially acknowledged the series, stating, "In the NHL's 108-year history, this might be the most unique driver for creating new fans." Timing lined up with multiple cultural currents as well. Hockey romance novels surged during the pandemic. Successful LGBTQ+ adaptations like Heartstopper and Red, White, and Royal Blue proved audiences existed, but Heated Rivalry set itself apart by being far more sexually explicit than those predecessors. It didn't chase palatability, it chased honesty. Creative freedom might be the most important factor of all. Bell Media financing the entire production meant Tierney could reject notes that would have compromised the story, insist on explicit content, and cast unknown actors with undeniable chemistry over bankable names. And the BookTok effect proved decisive. Those 650,000 readers didn't just tune in, they evangelized. They generated the social media pressure that pushed HBO Max to acquire the series and drove the viewership numbers that delivered that rapid renewal. Season 2 locked in on December 12, 2025, just 2 weeks after the premiere and only 4 episodes into the first season. The second season will adapt The Long Game, the 6th Game Changers book that serves as a direct sequel to Heated Rivalry and continues Shane and Ilya's story. 5 of 6 first-season episodes have aired as of now, with the finale titled The Cottage scheduled for December 26th. International expansion has brought the show to Neon in New Zealand and Movistar Plus in Spain, with Sky UK and Ireland set to premiere it on January 10th. Gay sports bars hosted viewing parties throughout the run, and Halifax's Stardust sold out its finale party within minutes. The Montreal Canadiens played the trailer on their Jumbotron twice, including during Pride Night on December 10th. One more detail deserves mention. Rachel Reed revealed in interviews that she received a Parkinson's disease diagnosis just days before Jacob Tierney first reached out about the adaptation in August 2023. She described that timing by saying, "Getting that message at that time was pretty huge for me. It was exactly what I needed." What does Heated Rivalry's success actually tell us? It tells us that audiences don't want queer stories sanitized for mainstream consumption. They want them told honestly, explicitly, and with the emotional weight they deserve. It tells us that the romance novel adaptation pipeline can actually work when creators respect the source material, instead of apologizing for it. It tells us that passionate fan bases built on platforms like TikTok can shift distribution deals and force streaming services to pay attention. And it tells us that sometimes the best casting choice isn't the famous name, it's the two waiters whose chemistry critics are comparing to Bogart and Bacall. Heated Rivalry didn't become a phenomenon by accident. Everyone involved understood what made the story special. From the author who wrote it out of anger at hockey culture, to the showrunner who refused to compromise, to the actors who committed fully to their roles, and none of them let anyone diminish it. That's why it's the most watched original series in Crave history. That's why it broke HBO Max records. That's why it earned a renewal after just 2 weeks. And if you haven't watched it yet, you probably should. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below telling me whether you've read the books, watched the show, or both, and whether you think the adaptation lived up to the source material. Until next time.